Welcome back to the Community Review on Hot 92.3. I'm Josefa Salinas, your host. Well, one thing we need to do in Southern California, and that is be prepared. Why do we need to be prepared? Because so many things go on here, from a traffic jam. Now, how many of you have been caught on the freeway for 2 hours with nothing to eat in the car and kids in the back going, "Mom, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty"? That's something you need to be prepared for. How about an earthquake? How about the power outages? How many of you were ready with flashlights? I know at my house we had flashlights ready. We also lit a couple of candles that were in hurricane lamps because we were making sure that we were being very careful when using a candle, which is something you need to be very careful with in an outage, but you never want to use them during earthquakes. Now, who's going to verify everything that I said with us in person? Donna Boston, good morning.
Good morning.
So Ready OC is all about being prepared.
That's right. In California, we need to be prepared for a whole host of emergencies, and Ready OC is here to be our resource to help us do that.
Let's take a look at the recent power outages. Caught a lot of people off guard. I know that I've lived in California, in Los Angeles for 21 years. Have never, ever seen winds like I saw that night. And my house kind of positioned in a spot where there's no buildings anywhere near me. It's a straight shot to the ocean from where I'm at. So when those winds came through, there was nothing to block it. So I thought my house was going to get blown down. It really felt like that. It felt like a hurricane without water. So it was unique for us, but we have Santa Ana's. The winds can really do a lot of damage, and they did. So what are the things that we need to do to be prepared for something as simple but as devastating as the wind?
I think the first thing that we do need to acknowledge is that we can have a host of different type of disaster situations, whether it's caused by an earthquake, a very strong wind, torrential rain. Any of those circumstances can cause your utilities to fail, for you to have to change everyday life. And that's really what Ready OC is going to point you to, is how to survive during life interrupted, basically. And really the best things that we can do are to have an emergency preparedness kit, have a plan with your family, and get informed.
Now, one of the things that I noticed that night, we had a very small child in the house, 4 years old, and our lights went out right at dinner time. So it was fun to me. I was like, oh, yay, the lights are out. But for a 4-year-old, it was like, what the heck is going on? She started crying. She was scared. And this is something that you need to address with your children. Maybe even perhaps turning the lights out one night and let them walk around with flashlights and see what it's like to maneuver in your house with no lights.
You're exactly right. We need to give our children a way to survive the disaster without us, whether it's a simple power outage or if it's going to be that we're sheltering in place in our home. If we teach our children what to do during a calm situation and we practice for an emergency, perhaps you can do a fire drill with your kids in your home, and we actually run through and give them a job to do, then that's really going to help them out when the power really does go out. And you're right, they do get upset in a disaster situation. The other piece that we can point to is on our Ready OC website, we do have some materials to help your children get prepared for emergencies, to actually start that conversation, to explain to them about why we do prepare for emergencies and how to get through it together.
What should you have at work and what should you keep in your car to be ready?
For your emergency preparedness kit at home, at work, and in your car, you want to mirror the same items. You want to have a first aid kit. That's the first thing that you want to put in there. You want to have food and water, and then some basic emergency supplies, an emergency blanket. Those are very small to put in there. Some tools. And we do have lists that are very easy to print right off our Ready OC website. The other piece that we really need to focus on, though, is making sure we put the special items that either we or our family needs during a disaster. So if you rely on medication, you need to make sure that you're going to have it, and any other special items that your family or you will need.
What do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about an emergency?
I think that people believe that our amazing emergency responders will be there for everyone. And while they will try, they are going to show up, they're going to go to work. We just don't have enough of them for every single person in the Southern California area. And they're going to work really hard. And I've seen them do it. But they won't get to everyone first. That's the problem. We have to take care of ourselves and our neighbors. If you have a neighbor that might have a disability, access, or functional need, you need to make sure that they're okay too. That is part of our human responsibility.
Well, one of the biggest things I always try to educate and tease my listeners about, how many adults do not know, raise your hands at home, how to turn off the water at your house or the gas at your house. And I'm not talking about inside the house. I'm talking about the main shutoff out at the street. Almost everybody in the audience does like this. They don't know. Well, guess what? Today's the day you should find out.
That's right.
Find out how to turn off the water. Find out how to turn off the gas outside at the street. It's really pretty simple, but you have to do it. And make sure that your kids that are like 16 and over know how to do it too in case you're not home.
I also want to mention that there are really new and exciting ways to help you prepare. One of those ways is the Ready OC app for the iPhone. And so you can actually go to your iPhone, download the app. It is free. And, learn about your preparedness when you're waiting in line at the grocery store even.
Okay, very cool. And I'm assuming that that'll be on the your iPad as well as your iPhone?
Yes, that's right.
Very good. Very good. Now, those are all things that all the techies love, is having all the information at their fingertips. Now, what about giving the gift of preparedness? Now, I actually have done this. I've bought those little backpacks that are the 3 days worth of food and given them to people as gifts. And they're like, what am I supposed to do with this? I said, throw it in the trunk of your car. But it's a great gift to give.
I totally support that.
Right, because disaster might not strike and probably won't strike when everybody's at home sitting around the dinner table singing Kumbaya together. Very likely you might be miles apart from each other, which brings up another really great point. I remember during a recent earthquake, maybe a year or so ago, it wasn't even that big. I tried to reach my daughter. Well, the phone lines were busy. I couldn't get a text through, couldn't get a phone call through. Then I remembered, I called my brother in Michigan. Call went straight through. She had called him and told him that she was fine, so that when I called there, I knew, because the phones were working fine going out of state, but within the area, nobody could get a call or a text through. It was just crashing. So how important is that to have an out-of-state contact?
Well, I just want to say you're an expert, because that's exactly what we tell people to do. So you practiced it in real life. That is a perfect example. You need to have your out-of-state contact to relay that information and really get everybody on the same page that is experiencing that emergency. And that is very, very important. None of our phone systems, including, our landline phone systems and our cell phone systems, none of them are built for peak usage. So using that out-of-area phone line will help us pass it around.
Right. So even if you don't have a relative out of state, everybody knows somebody in another state. Just pick that person. Everybody has that number memorized, and you just call real quick. Hey, if mom calls, I'm fine. This is where I'm at. Or I'm trying to make it home. And panic, a lot of times, is one of the biggest things that causes the problems in an emergency.
That's true. People do need to think before they act during an emergency, and to act calmly and go to their emergency kit, do exactly the things that they need to do to achieve safety.
Perfect. Well, it sounds like Ready OC is the place we need to go for any and all information on making sure that our families, our friends, and ourselves are prepared no matter what the emergency. Because who would have thought that night that when they said, the winds are coming in, we all said, yeah, okay, Santa Ana, so what? Nobody really paid attention. And then all of a sudden, when these gale force winds came in, we were all taken by surprise. No one expected what was coming that night because we've never seen it. So that can happen. It's nature. Nature can bring what you've never seen when you least expect it. But Ready OC sounds like the place that you can go where you can be prepared for no matter what. Want to give us the website?
It is www.readyoc.org.
And is there a phone number?
You can call 714-628-7054.
Very good. Well, we will make sure all of this information is up at hot923.com. Keyword Josefa. Thank you, Donna, for coming in and making sure that we have this information. And I hope that all of you today, if nothing else, please go figure out where your water and gas shutoff is at your house and make sure everybody in your house knows where it is. Get the flashlights that you shake so that you don't have to worry about the batteries going out. They have them. They're everywhere. Home Depot has them. Everybody has them. You shake that flashlight and it works. So you're not worrying about an old battery. Crank radios so that you can charge your cell phone, so that you can find out what's going on. Information will be so important in an emergency, and we've just given you a lot today to be ahead of the game with Ready OC. Are you going to be ready? Is your family going to be ready? Go to readyoc.org. Get yourselves ready. Donna, thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Well, now that we are prepared for any local disasters, how about that bucket list? Where have you always dreamed of going? Well, where you've dreamed of going could be as close as a click away. What's on your bucket list? Patricia Schultz is back with us. She's written the new full-color second edition of the 1,000 Places to See Before You Die. And what's cool about this one, we got some brand new places and some combo places to look at. Good morning, Patricia.
Hi, good morning. Good morning.
It's wonderful to have you here.
Oh, thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Now, in looking through the book, I saw some places that, had crossed my mind, but I didn't really think about visiting until I looked in the book, like Ghana, the Baltic nations of Estonia. Is it Latvia?
Latvia.
And Lithuania?
Yes, who knew, right?
Yeah, Qatar. Now, I'd heard about Qatar, but I was like, I don't know if I want to go. But man, what a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's good. That's the very reason behind this book, is to have people aware of, places you've kind of sort of heard of, but you didn't know why you needed to go there, or places you've never heard of at all, as well as the same old, the Grand Canyons, the Taj Mahals, the Niagara Falls, to remind you that, oh yeah, I've always meant to go there. You never know what tomorrow brings, and we have our health today, and we have our interests today. So I encourage people to act on it and make it happen. Travel is so important. I think it's so important to how we develop and change as people and individuals. And as Americans, we can travel so easily. People forget that because it's our birthright. We've always been able to. We may not all have passports, but we should, because we can.
Exactly. Now, in some of your new travels, I noticed that you started pairing some things together to give people an idea. Like, let's see, one of your things was in Laos, that you don't cruise the Mekong without visiting, is it Wat Po?
Wat Po, right.
Wat Po, yes.
Yeah,
so you combined them two.
In order to accommodate the hundreds of new places I wanted to include, I couldn't just delete all of my favorites from the first book because they remain my favorites. So I had this brainstorm to go back with the original book that came out in 2003 and to reorganize everything. And, for example, in southern Italy, which I love, not just southern Italy, but all of Italy.
Me too.
One of my favorite places is the Amalfi Drive. But with the new revision, I just merged them together as a single comprehensive write-up about the Amalfi Coast and how you experience it and where you stay and the hotels and the different towns.
What do you think is the biggest change in the world since the book came out?
That's a good question. I think that the foremost thing that comes to my mind is the former Soviet bloc countries, because, the wall came down in the early 90s. These places that were starved to open up to Western tourism especially were just kind of finding their way when I started research in the late 90s. Now, 20 years later, they're open for business and flourishing and beautiful. And these were countries, the Baltic countries, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Romania, that for centuries before Soviet occupation were very rich and flourishing cultures and destinations, and you still see that again now because they're being allowed now to shine their lights and welcome tourists and have beautiful hotels now and very vibrant cultural scenes. So to me, that entire area of the globe, and also the former Yugoslavia, which was enmeshed in a whole series of wars, is now Slovenia, Croatia, Montenegro, a beautiful corner of the Mediterranean that for years was off everybody's radar. So I think all of those re-emerging countries that had their moment in centuries past and then experienced a very dark and black moment in history are now open again, and I think it's fascinating to visit them now.
Well, one of the fun things that you do in this is that you help us if we have a budget. Like in Buenos Aires, instead of staying at the Palace Hotel that's $450 a night, you suggest the Bobo, which is stylish and more affordable.
Place, I had every bit as good a time in this small little privately run place with 11 rooms as you do in the big white glove, special occasion hotels, which I love every bit as much. But let's be realistic that you can't always afford it. And I like to mix it up, too, wherever you go. You can, fly into Hong Kong and stay in one of those awesome 5-star hotels that are some of the finest anywhere. And then, mix it up with a far less expensive place so it kind of balances out your budget. And it also gives you a different insight or a different experience. So, yeah, with the revision, I did include far more budget-friendly places in terms of both hotels and restaurants. And they're just, part of the experience, but a very real part of it, because to me, where you unpack at the end of the day is all important.
Oh, most definitely. Now, one of the things I really love is that you now have an iPad app.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It just went live, as they say, and we've been working on it, and it's just awesome to me what iPads can do and what we created this app to offer, because it's the entire content of the book as well as over 1,000 photographs, and it allows you to interact with a real live travel community. So you can exchange tips and notes and upload photos and ask questions. I'm going to Botswana next week. What should I see? What should I not miss? Or I'm a travel buff who's been to the Monterey Jazz Festival in California, and is it worth my time? So there's that live interactive community that should really be fun, and it's a beautiful app. I'm a kind of a late convert to apps. I didn't know they really bring you into another world.
Yes, they do. They definitely do. But be careful with your app. You'll get thrown off a plane if you're playing it when they tell you to turn it off. Well, whether you can take a short trip or a long trip, I tell you what you can do. You can visit all of these places with this iPad app. It is so amazing. 1,000 places to see before you die. The new full-color second edition. Patricia Schultz, when you get the third edition, you make sure you come back and see us.
I promise.
All right. Have a great, amazing day.
Thank you. You too.
Well, sometimes you can't afford to travel, but with the internet as interactive as it is today, you feel like you're actually at some of these places. I have so enjoyed just getting on the internet and looking around and really, really visiting some of the places that I hope to go to in the next few years. So I hope you do the same thing too. Pick a place you've always wanted to go. Look it up on the internet. You won't believe what you will find. Do it today. Have some fun. I'm Josefa Salinas. Until we get together again, stay strong, stay focused, and most of all, stay informed. I'll see you next Sunday on the Community Review, Hot 92.3. Have a fabulous day. Get out there and visit somewhere around the world.